YouTube, what the crap's going on? Era of Carthage here, back in Total War Rome 2. I'm going to be leading Carthage here. This is a match that I just got to play the other day. Maybe yesterday, I don't remember. I'm playing under the name Athar's Beastmen, to commemorate the demigod-like warriors that have made Attila their home. So yeah, I've got Carthage. This is actually a low funds battle. It's like 7,800. I think that's low funds. I don't think it's medium. So yeah, you don't have a lot of funds, but I actually think this is a funds level where Carthage can potentially be good with numbers. They can bring quite a few troops still at this price range and have an interesting variety still, whereas some other factions can do the same and some can't. So my army is definitely made up of a variety here. I've got 4 Iberian swords, 2 in the center, 1 on each flank. I've got 3 mercenary Celtic light horse, 1 Iberian cav, a bodyguard general, 4 late Libyan hoplites, 4 Libyan infantry for my main line. So I knew I was up against the Arverni, and the Arverni at this funds level have some decent options too. They're going to have access to affordable heavy cavalry at this funds. Here it is, the heavy horse. They have levy freemen, which are great at any funds level, low or high. And then they have Celtic warriors, which again are good at almost any funds level. And chosen swordsmen are a pretty tough match. The Libyan infantry could potentially match well against them. The price of Oathsworn meant that I wasn't likely to face many of them. So my thought process was, if I was going to fight the Arverni at this funds level, I wanted to be able to help chop down heavy horse cost effectively. So late Libyan hoplites are a good choice because of their 30 bonus versus large and high armor. And then mercenary Iberian swords are a good choice for multiple reasons. Their javelins aren't super high damage, but they have a lot of them. They can throw them at long range, and they have a pretty good melee attack and damage for their price, though their defensive stats and charge is terrible. So I brought them for a couple reasons. 1, to help cut down cavalry, or 2, to throw javelins into the flank of enemy sword troops and then follow up with a melee attack. My Libyans are the holding power. They're this sturdy piece of my army. They have shield wall. It makes them a pretty handy unit for Carthage. They're not great for their price, but they're not bad. And then the cavalry is going to give me some mobility. So my cavalry is cheaper but more numerous, and the Arverni has fewer but more strong troops than I do. Now, the only favorable matchups that I have going for me is that in terms of utility, what my late Libyans lack in javelins that the levy freemen have, my guys make up for in armor and staying power. So my guys will easily beat the levy freemen in extended combat, although the levy freemen would win a charge just slightly. Or actually, no, my guys have the charge bonus too. So yeah, my guys will be superior in melee. The levy freemen do not want to take an engagement with the late Libyans. So if they do, it'll be a mistake. So I'm going to try and force that engagement because I want that mistake. So I'm going to go on the offensive rather than wait for my opponent to start charging me, because really the Arverni are a faction who's good on the charge, and Carthage is not so good on the charge. So I want to take the engagements. I'm going to get my guys into a hoplite wall quickly so I can decisively beat these levy freemen. Those guys didn't take any damage on the charge. How did the levy freemen beat me on the charge when I have a better charge bonus? That is interesting indeed. Whatever the case is, my guys are going to turn that around relatively easy. I guess they're just MLG freemen. So yeah, I'm going to chuck some javelins here at these heavy horse. All of the precursor javelins do have a bonus versus large. So I get that. This is a smaller bonus versus large, but it's still handy, causing a lot of hit point damage there. And then I'm going to intercept with Celtic light horse, ruin the charge of the heavy horse. So outnumbered like this, it means the heavy horse has no one good target to go after, and I can take advantage of it. Over here, gonna get some chosen swords. They are gonna wreck my late Libyans, though my guys will last for a little while. I'm gonna pull back all of the Iberian swords and come and engage with Libyan infantry. And then I'm gonna do the same on this flank, trying to get the better of that cav engagement by numbers. So I got my Libyans spread very wide, out of formation attack, so that I can wrap around the edges. The Celtic warriors are going to trade very nicely against my Libyans on the charge. And he's put chevrons on these guys, so they have a pretty considerable melee attack. It's just that their health and stuff isn't going to be the same as a more expensive unit, but nice job here getting around the flank with extra Celtic warriors. His general's charge, though, got disrupted, and now my late Libyans are actually going to trade very well in that fight. But I am outflanked here. Excuse me. Fortunately, I'm in shield wall. It'll make these guys last a little longer, but I will get beat decisively. However, the rest of these Celtic warriors are going to get punished pretty badly by Libyan infantry, except for, say, here, where he's outnumbering me with 2 units. Late Libyans, though, still performing admirably. Yeah, I was able to take care of his heavy horse, and I've already broken through to the back lines with this Celtic light horse. There's 2 of them. I'm going to be able to start running rear charges. So you can see here that he's going to go ahead and turn around and face my horsemen because I was a bit slow. But I've got some Iberian swords pitching javelins into that Celtic warrior too. And I'm going to try and get over here and help out my Libyan infantry who's taking on the Oathsworn general. They're doing very well, but anything I can give them will be good. So here comes a Celtic light horse. Javelins, going to charge the Oathsworn, which was engaged from the other side. Now he did turn around to charge my light horse, which is probably a good move. Because my guy's being in shield screen, he won't take a particularly large number of casualties from turning around. But I mean, I got a few kills, did some hit point damage. I've got another Libyan free that can now come over and help shore up this flank. My heavy horse, or my heavy general's unit is still sitting around, and we've got a heavy horse back here that I can now reinforce with these. These guys, I'm going to run a rear charge here, try and kill as many Gauls as I can. So yeah, and out here, his Levy Freeman came back from routing. His Chosen Swordsman wrapped up that one. It's going to do a good job of wrapping up, but these late Libyans can hold for a long time. And then here's where the Iberian swords come in handy. This is why I saved them. I tried not to engage them in melee until I had an opportunity to use them in a way that was good. On the charge, they're quite bad, but in extended melee combat versus this Celtic warrior, they'll do pretty well. The Celtic warrior got kind of a last-second charge, it just wasn't a very good one. And I'm also going to get some rear penalties on this other Celtic warrior that's there. So my Iberian swordsman will actually do pretty darn well in this fight. And I've got cavalry cycling in and out of the enemy Oathsworn general here in order to slowly pick him apart. So there's going to be another light horse charge. It is a very heavy infantry, so it's going to take time. Those guys are in shield wall. You can see here my Iberians being very useful. Again, knowing when to engage these guys in melee makes a big difference. Here for a rear charge, they'll do very, very well. That high attack will serve them well. High attack for the cost, it will serve them well. The javelins are great for rear attacks and cavalry. And I usually tend to take these guys off fire at will and choose when I want to throw javelins with them. Over here I am going to have to just sacrifice a unit to hold these guys off while I finish up this fight. I've now got more Libyans free. These Libyans have been very cost effective for me. This unit has as well. 72 kills on Oathsworn is very, very good. The Oathsworn have gotten more kills than my Libyans, but not a cost-effective trade at all. Managed to wrap up this other flank now with the help of my cavalry. The only thing that's left out here is some Levy Freemen that my late Libyans are finishing off for a second time. So yeah, the Oathsworn general is going to get hit with basically all the cavalry that I can spare over here, which is a couple more depleted units of Celtic Light Horse that's done a pretty good job for me in this battle. This Chosen Swordsman has actually beasted out a lot of kills. It was mostly against late Libyans, so not too difficult for them. But I'm going to bring in some Iberian horse and some Celtic Light Horse and an Iberian Swordsman, and it's going to rout them, so we're going to be able to get them off the field. I think my opponent made a few mistakes here. He put a lot of chevrons on these Celtic warriors, and that's a mistake. At least I feel like it is. I'll go explain why here in a moment. Let's go take a look. So if we head over here to the custom battle screen and look at the Arverni, and then if I select the funds level, I do believe it was, no, it wasn't small funds, it was medium funds. 7800's medium funds. So he took an Oathsworn general, which I absolutely agree with, and he even brings some Celtic warriors, 4 of them, which again, I agree with this. Levy Freeman, I would have brought 4 of those guys for sure, and I think he did in this match. And I would have brought some chosen, I would have almost mirrored something similar to my Carthaginian army with these guys. Except that in this case, if you look, I've already got 4 very solid infantry units. And at this point, I probably would have just spent my money on cavalry. I could get 2 heavy horsemen, and that's going to be nice. Or, you know, I could have brought light horse too if I wanted more maneuverability for less cost. There you go. I mean, you could get those guys, and you could even still afford like another levy free or something like that. So I mean, he could have matched me in the numbers game, and the chosen swordsman would have been a tough fight for my Libyans. They could potentially win. Just depends on what happens with the charge and shield walls and all that kind of stuff. Oathsworn could definitely win if used properly. He would match me in cavalry, my spears would have been able to outdo his, but he could have had an extra here. And then the Celtic warriors would have actually matched up very favorably against my Iberian swords. So I actually think the Arverni could have had a leg up here with a little bit better army selection, and then bringing the Vercingetorix general, if he had it available to him, would have been a good choice as well. Or, I mean, the strategist with the Oathsworn's always a solid choice. So I did win this one. Worked out for me. If you look at Carthage on their side of it, it's really the charge of the Arverni that can be challenging. And in this medium funds, I mean, you could bring a couple pikemen, but they're always questionable, and it's kind of hard to get the bang for the buck out of them. You know that the Arverni have good swords, and it's kind of hard to bring swords to match that for Carthage because the noble fighters are so expensive. A noble cavalry general could potentially be pretty useful in a medium funds battle if you can afford it, just because with the lighter infantry that's bound to be present, these guys could do a lot of damage, though of course you would have to kill a lot more of the lighter infantry to make them pay off. Just trying to think of other units. In these lighter battles, you know, Libyan Peltas could potentially be handy too. I think Mercenary Iberian Cav can obviously be more useful if you're expecting a lot more light swords on the battlefield, potentially. But yeah, Carthage, I definitely feel like that Arverni has better potential in the medium funds, just in my mind. Tell me what you all think. Hope you enjoyed it. HeirofCarthage, signing off for now.